Hi, Kemi.
Hello, Damla.
Yeah, welcome. Micah, can you check if you can unmute yourself?
Hi, Dami. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi, Kenny. Good evening.
Hello, Michael.
So, Kemi, I think we can just start with the basics.
Okay. I can't hear you too clearly, Damla.
Okay, I need to just turn off something quickly. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So, I think we'll while we wait for people to come in, so perhaps you can just start with basics.
All right. All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining in today. Thank you for joining in. It's the third episode of the Teach Innovation series. We've had two previous series and it's been very educative. Today promises also to be very enlightening. The focus for these few weeks has been about emerging issues in the coronavirus pandemic. And there's been a lot of focus on low-cost schools at this time. We know that since the coronavirus pandemic broke out, lots and lots of students, millions of learners across the globe have been out of school. And many schools, many educational institutions have been leveraging on various technological platforms and learning management systems just to ensure that learning continues for the students. Now, while we know that some schools are going for the high-end technology that involves a lot of digital literacy skills to operate them. We know that there are some schools that might not be able to afford that, just like many low-cost schools in our rural communities. So today's session is going to be focused on low-cost tech for low-cost schools. How exactly are the low-cost schools supposed to thrive at this time, knowing fully well that lots of challenges abound? I mean, the Nigerian climb has a lot of, technical issues, infrastructural deficits that just makes remote learning on its own quite challenging. So we are going to be learning today about that. Yes, low-cost tech for low-cost schools, and we have an expert here with us who is going to be giving us more knowledge on this. Just as we kick off, I think I would just like to go over the rules for this session. Please ensure your microphone is muted. Make sure your video is also turned off. If you have any comment as the speaker is giving his speech, please drop a message in the chat box. I'll be sure to respond or read out the question. You could also raise your hand. I think that works too. So please drop your messages in the chat box or drop your questions and comments in the chat box as the speaker begins. Damlola, are we good to go?
Okay, so I think we'll just have to, let's start with the introduction of the speakers.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, but it's not too clear yet. All right, everyone. Our speaker today is Mr. Michael Obakabaye. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Mr. Michael is a physicist, is a STEM educator, is a front-end developer and social entrepreneur. He is the co-founder and executive director of Mentor and African Child Initiative, MACI, which is an NGO committed to providing access to various digital skills for children and young adults to become self-reliant in the future. And this evening is going to be teaching us, or we're going to be learning about low-cost technology for low-cost schools. Is going to be telling us about how the coronavirus pandemic affects low-cost schools, what methods are currently being deployed, and which other methods do we still foresee that can be used for low-cost schools. So you're welcome, Mr. Michael.
Thank you very much, Kemi. Thank you, Dami. Thank you, the organizers of this webinar. I'm so happy to be here, and I want to say thank you to everybody for joining in at this time. We know that we are facing a lot of issues that came with the advent of COVID-19, but it's also good that we take the time to, explore how to do things better, because we have to keep innovating. Thank you very much. Thank you for this topic. It's actually an interesting topic, and can I go on? Can I just start? Kemi, I have the floor.
I think you just have to introduce everybody.
Okay.
Wait to have more people join us.
All right. Thank you.
Kemi?
Okay. For everyone already in, just in case you think or you foresee that there's a particular question you have for the speaker, something particular you want to know, you could just drop it in the chat box, and then as we continue, we'll get to that. Okay. Okay, so we know that the COVID-19 pandemic has come with a lot of disruption for the education system. And for me, I personally say that this disruption that we all see, or that we're all talking about, everyone is talking about the new normal. This disruption in the education system is just giving us a glimpse into how education is going to look like going into the future in Nigeria. I mean, education is either going to get better or worse, depending on how well we're able to maximize the situation, depending on how well we're all able to, navigate through this period. I say it's a time for us to turn insight into action as a nation. That's what I see. I mean, for us to use this time to look deep, to actually assess how education is being done, for us to get it right and get it better. I believe that at this time, as many institutions are using at this time, I believe that as many institutions are incorporating blended learning, everyone is using technological tools. I hope that when we resume back into our physical classes, these technological tools will still, be in use, because the truth is that blended learning, the use of technology in learning, is something that is inevitable, is something we all need, is something that can help a nation in times of crisis. Is something that makes for institutional resilience and academic continuity at every point in time. So, okay, Damola, are we good to go yet, or do I still continue?
Okay, so let me just introduce you very quickly to our guests. It is my honor to introduce to us Ms. Kemi Ogunsoya. She's one of those few teachers who make the teaching profession look quite interesting. I mean, she makes the teaching profession, compete with them, doctors and engineers and the rest of them like that. She is a core literacy educator with over 7 years of teaching experience. She has taught across both public and private schools at primary and secondary levels during this period. She is a convener of the Pristine Project, an initiative aimed towards advocacy of menstrual health and hygiene among secondary school students, as well as the mental and physical wellness of the girl child. She's also the convener of the Teachers Discourse Series, a platform birth to equip teachers with relevant skills necessary to sorry, I think my screen is covering that, so pardon me. Please go ahead.
To upscale their impact.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Please go ahead now. Yeah. You have the floor now.
Okay. So I think we have about 13 participants now. I think we're good to go. Damilola, am I correct?
We don't want to keep people waiting, so others can actually get the playback of this session. It's going to be recorded, so let's just go ahead.
Okay, all right. So we're going to welcome Mr. Michael as he takes up the stage now. If you can give him a thumbs up through the chat box, please do as it comes up. We're about to learn, just like I said before, about low-cost tech for low-cost schools, and I believe it's going to be a very enlightening one. While he's giving his speech, please drop your questions, just like I said in the chat box. Drop your comments too, and any remarks you might have. So welcome once again, Mr. Michael. It's great to have you here with us.
Thank you very much, Kemi, and it's my pleasure to be here this evening. First, I wanted to say that I'm glad that you didn't murder my son name, Obakabai, because most people, they usually murder it whenever they are calling it for the first time. So it's nice. Thank you very much for that. So good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here once again, and I'll be discussing, just like the introduction that was done. I'm Michael Obakabai, and I am the co-founder and the executive director of Mentor and African Child Initiative, and we are committed to providing digital inclusiveness for children, providing quality education. So our goal is to see that children in low-income communities are not left out in the technological world that we live right now. So that is what we have been doing at Massey. So you're going to know more about me as I continue to discuss the important topic that is before us this evening, which is low-cost tech for low-income schools. Now, when we talk about technology, many people get it mixed up. Many think that technology is all about the sophisticated gadgets, until you have say a projector, laptop, you have access to internet, and those are what forms technology. But technology is way more than that. If you look at the history of technology, you will see that there is a progression over the years. Technology started from people writing on slates, and those are early technology. So technology is not just about the sophisticated gadgets. Also, I want to point out that it is not the quantity of technology that matters, because many people fail to understand this. They feel that until they have quantity of technology, they are not using technology. No, technology in the classroom is not about quantity, but the quality. How best can you get something done? What is the best tool? So, but technology does not give quality education. It's just a tool. So you can have all the sophisticated what you call technology and not still deliver quality education. So having said that, I will just go straight to talk about the issue. So I'm going to say more about what we are doing at Massey and what we'll be doing using technology to engage learners at this time that everybody is on lockdown and there's restriction of movement everywhere. So the first thing I want to talk about is the issue. So we need to understand the issue first before we now talk about the solutions that we can adopt, to solve the issues. Now, I will take the start from UNESCO. According to a recent statistics that was released by UNESCO, half of all students worldwide faces one barrier or the other when it comes to online learning. Okay, and these barriers includes internet access and affordability, availability of household computers and gadgets etc. Now, let's come back home. Let's come to sub-Saharan Africa. The statistics also show that 89%, a whopping 89%, approximately 216 million learners in sub-Saharan Africa alone do not have a household computer. Also, 82%, that is approximately 199 million learners, do not have access to household internet. I want you to note all these things because we are going to be deliberating more on that as we proceed. Now, thirdly, 11%, that's approximately 26 million learners, are not even covered by mobile network. So you can see the challenge before us. And if, of course, we must have been guessing that the people that are at the receiving end that are really, facing this sort of challenges are people in low-income communities. Now, it's a fact that they are the ones facing this challenge. So personally, I will say a little more about myself. I am a STEM educator consultant. So I work with people, with children from both ends of the ladder. I work with children with in the high income community and in the low income community. So believe me when I say this, I have seen it. So even during this period of the pandemic, I consult for a leading STEM company in Lagos. So even during this pandemic, I've been having to engage children from the eyebrow schools, so to say, virtual learning and the likes. So, and I also have my classes with children from low-income communities. So there's a discrepancy I want you to see here. Children from this high income are paying as much as 20 to 30,000, and I have them in drove attending my classes. So the last time I had in a single class, I can have up to 50, 70. So I had to be breaking down the classes to accommodate most of them. But the case is not the same with people from low-income communities. You realize that even when the classes I organize for them are for free, many of them still cannot attend because of one issue or the other. So in addition to the barriers that I listed according to UNESCO, we now to look at what are the barriers in our own context. So that will throw more light into what we are actually facing. So in our low-income communities, there are peculiar challenges. First is poverty. So we are not new to poverty. The last time we were told that our country is the poverty headquarters of the world. So poverty, and when I talk about poverty, I'm talking about poverty of both the mind and the physical poverty. So most of the parents in these communities, because of their level of education and exposure, they do not seem to know or they are unable to see what is gradually becoming the normal, the new normal that we are preaching. So the last time I had a class and one of my students was unable to join. So I had to put a call through to him just to ask why he couldn't join. He's from a low-income community. I could have heard the mom saying that I should call him back. Speaking to the phone that I should call him back, that he has to run some errands, and that's why. So the boy practically had to tell me that he couldn't join because he has to go to the farm, he has to run errands for the mom. So they are seeing it as an opportunity, as an avenue to let these children work for them. Interestingly, yesterday I had a 1-hour call with a teacher in Shagamu. And she was complaining to me bitterly about how children in our community are not learning at this moment. So practically what she said was most parents are seeing this time as a time for the children to run errands, do domestic chores, do a lot of things that they are not actually, that many of them, of course, we felt that we are going to do something about it, and we are working on that. So let me also say this new normal is not just peculiar to education, so it involves everyone on this call. I've been thinking about post-COVID-19, and I want to tell you that one of the most important skills in the post-COVID-19 economy is going to be technical skills. So everyone has to be on board. You need to improve your technical skills. Therefore, it's good for us to, in this new information-based and highly technological society, for us to build capacities as educators or in whatever profession where we find ourselves. So the second, another issue that they are facing in low-income communities, which is also, of course, we all know about it, is the epileptic power supply. So when you say you want to have a synchronous class with students or learners, you will discover that many of them might not be able to join due to power supply. I know classes are going on TV, radio stations, and that are specifically targeted for these particular children, but unfortunately, some of them are still, or most of them are still unable to tap into that. Now, another issue which came with COVID-19 is economic hardship. So there was economic hardship, but COVID-19 added another dose of economic hardship. So survival has been on the mind of parents at this time. So those are many other challenges are what we have observed in low-income communities. Now, I will talk about our solutions and some of the things we have done and some of the things that can be done. Now, there's no size fits all. So basically, personally, before I start working in a community, I try to understand the realities of the occupants of that community. So it is from the realities that I will design solutions that could fit them. So the first thing we did was to start using social media platforms to organize classes. So right now at Mercy, we are having classes on Zoom for those that can afford the data and WhatsApp. And what we also do is that for some that we realize that they have the device, at least a phone, and some households have someone that has a phone and which the children can use for an hour or 2 2-hour class in a day. We tapped into that potential, and we have children on our WhatsApp and on Zoom that are learning as we speak. That's one of the first solutions we deployed. So interestingly, we have students from across some other countries in Africa on our WhatsApp that are being taught daily on Zoom. And we also use some other, of course, some other popular platforms like Google Classrooms to have trainings. So because we focus more on digital education and STEM education, so our work is basically on digital and STEM education. So another thing which we have observed which work fine, another kind of technology we have observed that work fine is having asynchronous teaching by providing tailored resources for both learners and teachers. So we have there are some learners that I know that they cannot come for our synchronous classes, but they can still access it later. So we provide a means for them to get the lecture of the day downloaded and used. So on our particular platform, we have a teacher who is who, after going through the course here in the morning, she gets children in our community, and she will be able to teach them. So it's like she gets the training from us. Then whatever she has learned on the platform, she uses that to teach children in our community. So instead of us making it cumbersome, we can actually tap into some other means of technology that we can use. During the last week webinar series, one of the speakers said something about recorded tapes, which is also a good technology. Recorded tape, compact disc, if you can do the recording and do the distribution in low income, is also like I said earlier, I said technology is basically just a tool. You just have to look for what works most. We cannot all say wait until all these low income communities are covered by internet service providers. So it's not going to work. Are we going to say that because there's no internet, then learning should stop? No. So we should look into compact disc. We should look into even sending materials that can be printed in hard copies, okay, that we can use to reach children in low-income community. So from next week, I want to quickly talk about what other options we are considering at Mentor an African Child Initiative. So at the moment, we are still reaching children in the 100, but we feel that we can triple or have a geometric reach if we deploy some other means of reaching children. So what we have decided to do is that from next week, we have already concluded plan. As a matter of fact, we just got a grant to implement the plan. I just got the email before I joined this call now. So that's something we have been looking into. So we just got the grant to implement that plan. And what is the plan? Basically, the plan is for us to provide internet. We know we have identified children, students in some communities that we have worked with, and most of them, by our engagement, we have realized that the issue is not that they don't have phones, but they cannot afford the data that can be used to learn, even basically on WhatsApp. So we are working on providing data for 500 low-income children starting from next week. Also, another means we feel that we can reach children, especially in low-income community, is through the teacher. I said earlier that we are still reaching children in the 100, but what if we have teachers that have access to 10, 20 children at a time? Imagine the level of learning impact that will be made. So we are working on a platform. As from next week, we are starting to train teachers and giving them resources that they can use. So we have identified some communities, and we are currently in the process of getting teachers together. We are compiling the list of teachers, whereby we give them resources. We provide the resources on our platform. We provide training for them, so they take the resources. We also provide so I think one of the issues that most of them have is also in terms of finance. So we are going to cover the cost of printing those resources. But where technology has made it so simple that I don't have to leave my house to get files across to anybody in any area, as far as the person has a smartphone and internet, and that is what we are looking at. So technology, like we have said, low-cost technology can be in terms of even if we go back to the beginning of technology, I think it's high time. Personally, I think it's high time we looked into that. We go back. Let's relax a bit. Where the resources are not there, let's improvise. Simple text messages. I have been saying this to my team that we can use text messages to send. I know it will work. We can use text messages because an average family has a phone, even if it is not internet enabled. So we don't have to wait to get internet before the children are engaged, and technology is deployed as a tool to ensure that they keep learning even at this present dispensation. So lastly, I will want us also, one thing I have observed is that personally, I don't like too much talk. My teammates will tell me that I just want to do, and that is me. I just want to do. So as you attend different webinars, workshops, conferences, especially during this period, teachers, in our own little way, we can begin to look for means by which we can reach our learners, or even within our immediate community, how we can keep them engaged in whatever form. It could be it could be text messages, like I've said. It could be MMS, and those days we used to have. So we can tap into those potentials and use to get them educated at this point. But lastly, I will say that we also need to work on sensitization. I think that is also important, especially for our low-income parents and guardians. We need to sensitize them. Most of them don't know the importance of, they don't even know, they are oblivious of what is happening at this time. I want you to know that I've been thinking about post-COVID-19. I think there's something that we should learn, we should take out of the pandemic, is that things are not going to be the same way. We need to reinvent ourselves. Classroom will not be school will not be the way we have been doing it. Okay, so we need to like Magdalena would say, that we need to involve. We need to start having active learning, because this generation is we need to get learners active whenever they are learning. So if we are serious about digital inclusiveness for low-income learners, we need to look into these other options that have been listed, so that we will be able to achieve the result we want to see. Finally, I would not say lastly again, okay, finally at this junction, before I stop talking, okay, I want you to know that, as I said earlier, it is not the sophistication that matters. It is it getting the job done. The technology is not in the sophistication, okay? And we now need to begin to adapt. Somebody said adaptation is a form of intelligence. So we need to begin to adapt this technology for low-income community learners. As a physicist, there's something we call we call a machine. Of course, many of us know, and it is believed that a machine is used to get work done easier and faster. Now, consider if you have a bicycle and you want to climb a hill, okay, and you're trying to climb the hill. The bicycle, of course, is a machine, right? But I think it will be counterproductive for you to now say you want to use the bicycle to climb a hill. So the best thing I would advise is come down from your bicycle, walk side by side with your bicycle as you climb the hill. So we need to come down from our high and sophisticated technology that we have in mind. We need to now begin to look into other options. Thank you very much, Kemi. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'll stop for here now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Thank you very much. A lot of content, a lot of knowledge in those few minutes. Welcome to everyone that joined us while Mr. Michael was speaking. If you have questions based on anything Mr. Michael has said, please make sure you drop it in the chat box for us. Amongst the many things you said, there were some particular things that stood out for me. So you mentioned that technology isn't all about sophisticated gadgets. It's just all about maximizing what is available and being productive with it. The fact that you also mentioned that post-COVID-19, having technical skills is a must for everyone. This is not the time or the season to for anybody to give an excuse of not being tech savvy. Being tech savvy is not a need to have at this point. It's a must have for everyone. So digital literacy, yes. And then you also mentioned towards the end that adaptation is a form of intelligence, which is just absolutely correct. We know that. I have told people that at this time, if there are 3 skills everybody needs, flexibility, there's adaptability, there's resilience. As we all navigate through this remote learning system, those are like 3 skills everyone needs to have at this time. So thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
While we still await questions from the participants, you mentioned the use of Zoom and WhatsApp for you or for some of the students you work with. And I just want to know, are there specific tech tools that work for specific category of students? Are there specific tools that, okay, maybe they're just for primary school students or secondary school students, or can we just navigate any of the learning platforms for any category of our learners? I think I want to know that. So, okay.
Can I respond to that or later?
Okay, if you want to, since there's no other question, maybe you could just respond to it and then we'll move forward.
Okay, thank you very much. So there is no specific tool that is particularly designed for a particular set of learners. For example, in my consultancy with the firm I work with, we use Zoom for our classes. And I have children between the ages of 8 and 16. I have groups of them, learning on Zoom. And the reason we are using Zoom is that they can afford it. Their parents can afford the data and everything that has to do with Zoom. Okay, so and their parents are also a bit technically sound, so they were able to set up the platform for the children, and we usually have a smooth class. So, but like I said in my presentation, I said the first thing we need to do when we are considering what technology to apply to a particular set of people is their reality. We need to know what will work, what is their what level of technical skill do they have, what is available. So that will depend on how we now design our tool. It's just a tool, okay? So now determine how we design our tool and deploy it for use. On WhatsApp, the classes we have on WhatsApp is for low-income children. The children we have been working with in communities in Abeokuta, so, and while working with them, we know that most of they are mostly teenagers. Okay, most of them have even if it is a phone that was given to them by their brother, so they have that access to that gadget. So we use that medium to also reach them.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Thank you for enlightening us. And we'll be moving forward now to our next session, which is going to be handled by Damilola Adeniyi. So I'll just give a brief introduction. Damilola Adeniyi is a value-driven and passionate entrepreneur with budding interest in grassroots education and social development. He's a human capacity development enthusiast and an active player in education reform. He's the founder and lead volunteer at Gamify Nigeria. He's the co-founder of Teach Innovation. He's a registrar at Global International College. He's a communications and media manager at ERIT, E-R-I-T. Damilola is a strong believer in the unlimited potentials of the Nigerian child, and he envisions a world where every Nigerian child can live and compete on global standards. So, Damilola, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having me. And Michael, thank you so much for your session. I think before I just go on, there was something you said earlier that I had to write down. You said it's not the sophistication that matters, it's getting the job done. And I'm just adding and also getting the job done well. So a lot of times over the past couple of months, I think a lot of people have been sitting on this high horse and thinking that yes, for us to have an effective learning system, we need to use all the sophisticated technologies, which is not so. That is what I've observed so far. Please, everyone, there's a poll on your screen right now. Only 14 people have actually feel that this is when I was preparing for this session, I made a number of assumptions. In fact, I had to change my presentation a number of times, looking at the category of people we'll be addressing. And my concern is making sure that we've been having this series for this is the third one, and we just don't want to start talking without adding value to our participants. So now I see that we have a lot of teachers, and we have two parents here on call with us and two school administrators. Great. So so I'm just going to end that now, and then I can just go right into it. So basically, there's been a lot of questions, and for me, I believe that a lot of with this global pandemic out there, it has affected the economy of of even the biggest nations of the world. It has affected the health sector, but one of those sectors that's been affected the most is the education sector. Now, in the education ecosystem, the category of schools that suffer this blow the most is local schools. And why is this so? This is simply because most of these schools have lack access to technology, lack access to internet, lack access to basic tech infrastructure that can enhance or facilitate learning. Making the matter worse, now that you cannot have, due to social distancing, you cannot have physical interactions. So which means everybody's only thinking, I have to go online. But now that I cannot go online, then there's nothing I can do. But then, so I'm just going to now share with us very briefly. Thanks to Mike who was opened the floor earlier. I'm just going to share a video with us very, shortly. And I hope that we'll watch this. Now, the reason I stumbled upon this video, and I felt that it is very important to share this with everyone. And this is for us to begin to think that the fact that our context is a bit, challenged, the fact that we do not have access does not stop us from delivering value or delivering learning to students. So I'm going to share this video with us just, shortly. I mean, right about now, and then I hope that this will. Okay, so just give me a minute. I'll just do this again. Okay. Share computer sound. Okay. Okay. This video, it should come up now. Okay. So it should come up any minutes now.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Rabia Chaudhry and I'm a Teach for Pakistan Fellow. I've been a part of this program since July 2019 when I graduated from LUMS. Currently, I am teaching.
I'm very sorry about this.
Around 135 beautiful, resilient girls in a school in Barimam. Our classrooms are small, we don't always have electricity, and even when we do, sometimes our fans don't work, or sometimes there isn't enough light for us to actually see the whiteboard. But every day, without fail, my girls have come into these rooms and lit them up with just their joy and their enthusiasm to learn. So when the lockdown started and we had lost these classrooms, me and my co-fellows were faced with this almost paralyzing question of what now? Because when you talk about online learning, the picture that comes to mind is of this high-tech classroom where every child has access to a laptop and there is a high-powered internet connection and everything is happening over Zoom and the parents are highly involved. And this picture did not seem to reconcile with our reality. And so our first question was, is this even possible for our kids jinke liye any sort of an internet connection would be a blessing? And it is so easy to let that become an excuse to not act. But one thing that we were very clear on was that we could not give up on these students. They had showed us that they deserved better. So we started looking for whatever technological platform they already had access to and whatever simple methods we could use to get information to them, what platforms they could already access, and we decided to just go ahead and use those. And in doing that, there is so much that we learned ourselves. One thing we found was that most of our students had access to a WhatsApp enabled phone. So then WhatsApp could become one of our primary modes of communication. For those with only SMS access, we were able to create differentiated content and also send them learning packets. But in all of this, we realized how simple things could really look and how we did not have to wait for some crazy technological support to go ahead with this. So much could happen simply over WhatsApp.
And so this is what our WhatsApp classroom started to look like. We set some rules regarding the nature and delivery of content, which was sent in the forms of videos, pictures, audio notes, etc. This meant that the content was available for them to replay as many times as they wanted and to learn from whenever. Learning was no longer restricted to the classroom. The students would do their work, take pictures of it, and send it for feedback. But even we did not anticipate how well the students adjusted to this platform. Soon enough, they were sending us their questions over voice notes, which meant that even those who could not type were able to communicate with us, and class discussions started to flow. When we would send them feedback, they would often ask us for more clarity, and were able to get the sort of individual attention they could not ask for in a classroom full of 50 students. And eventually, they even started using the groups to talk to each other during non-class hours, and we were able to regain the sort of connection and class culture we had been missing out on. And so, a lot of what my WhatsApp school looks like right now has actually been because of the innovation of my students.
But one of the best things about all of this has been the increased parent involvement in these children's studies. Because when I first reached out to them, they were very concerned कि मैं तो अनपढ़ हूँ, मैं कैसे मदद करूँगा, मैं बच्चे को कैसे काम कराऊँगा. And now the feedback that I'm getting implies that the parents are learning alongside the
तो
students.
टीचर हम बहुत खुश है, आप जो व्हाट्सएप पे पढ़ाती है तो साथ में हमारी अम्मी भी पढ़ती है, उसको भी वो 8वीं पास है तो उसको भी अभी आता है.
And having worked with these parents for the past year and having witnessed their helplessness and their frustration at not understanding what was going on at their child's school, this mode of learning has been so empowering with them. And for all of these reasons, my class that struggled for a whole year to do their homework on time is now taking so much agency for their own learning. And so when I think about whenever this is going to be over and I get to go back to my classroom, I am going to take my WhatsApp school with me. And we're going to use it to learn from videos, we're going to use it to do our homework, and we're going to use it to keep our parents involved.
Okay, thank you very much for listening.
Because my students
for listening to that. Okay. So the reason I share this video with us is basically to make us understand that I know that some of us, if we begin to look at the current realities, some of us, the classroom that was shown in this video is representative of what our classrooms look like. Personally, myself, I've also worked in a public primary school, for a couple of years, and I have a very good, a good idea of the challenges with some of these schools. Now, what we've seen from this video is basically this lady and our team or our colleagues decided to, okay, now that the shutdown has happened, what else can we do? Now, WhatsApp is just a social media platform. People use it to chat, to communicate, but then people are beginning to use these things to even do as to facilitate learning. And I don't know if you listen well. Michael mentioned earlier that you could even use text messages to also facilitate learning. And the lady mentioned something about using text messages to facilitate individual learning, differentiated learning rather. So basically, now what is our current reality? I'm going to share another poll with us right now. Just to understand the context that we find ourselves. Basically, I want to look at our current technology access. So please do take the time to fill this this poll to understand basically. Now, when I was thinking about this session, I was thinking, okay, what is the basic tech that our students can have access to that can give us, the basic things that they need to actually, have continuous learning using the conventional, technology that we are talking about, e-learning. And now the applications I'm going to share with us today are going to, you can use all of those applications on a mobile phone. Even if you as a teacher do not have access to a computer, or your students do not have access to a computer, once the parents can have access to at least a smartphone, it doesn't matter the specification, doesn't matter how expensive it is, as long as it is internet enabled. And some of these applications you can actually, consumes very less data, which means it is cost effective. So now, what is the current realities? I would be happy if our participants can, drop in the comment box some of their realities. One of the reality I've observed is access. Most students do not have access to these tools, to this sophisticated software. They cannot afford it. These gadgets, they do not have access to it. Now, speaking on on teachers, a lot of teachers now teaching traditional method of teaching is to, like, teaching online is a different ball game entirely. A lot of our teachers, get to hide behind the fact that they're in the classroom alone with the students most of the time. But one thing I've observed in the past couple of months is if you're able to set up an e-learning system, your parents are involved, like they are right in the class with you at any point in time, so you cannot hide anymore. So whatever mistakes you make in the past, it becomes obvious to everybody. And now this is digitalized, which means it can be recorded. So which means you don't want to, you can't afford, to make, some certain kind of mistakes. Then the fact that there's physical restrictions also, creates a very big challenge where for schools that do not have access, like I've mentioned. So I'm just going to talk a bit about some of the tools I'm introducing to us today. Now, after I'm done introducing these tools, I'm also going to share. Then we can now discuss around schools or children that do not even have access to any kind of technology at all. So, okay. Yes. So today I'm going to share with us, and all this app you're seeing on the screen right now, they are free applications. For now, what Zoom has done during this lockdown period is, once you register on Zoom and you create as a school account, it's free, and then you have unlimited time, to have virtual sessions with your classroom. And I know that for some of us, we all come from. I mean, now even when we talk about local schools are not, they're also not in the same category. You have some who can afford basic technology, you have some who cannot even afford anything at all. So, but then let's just look through this application. So Zoom allows you to have virtual classes, FaceTime classes with your students. Edmodo also, now Edmodo is also a free application. Edmodo gives you, gives parents access, students access, and teachers access. And basically, you can set up an entire learning management system on Edmodo, which includes assessment, testing, conducting exams, sharing of documents, conversations, and discussions with your students. All your students need to do is just register as a student. You set up a class, you give them the code, they log in, even with as small as a mobile phone, even if it's not an Android device. If it's internet enabled and then it can download basic Android applications, it works for everybody. Also, there's Google Classroom, and then there's Jamboard. So I'm going to be looking at each of them right now. So now Edmodo. So I'm just going to be sharing very short videos with us. But then I might stop the videos because I don't want to take too much time on any of this, so that we can have time to answer questions and deliberate, because I do not have all the answers. And understanding the context that individuals come from matters a lot also in us trying to come up with solutions. So I'm going to play some of these videos for us to see, and then I can stop at any point.
Hello, and welcome to the introduction to Edmodo. Edmodo is a free social learning platform for teachers, students, parents, and school administrators. When you get to the edmodo.com homepage, you'll see that there are 3 different kinds of accounts that can be created. If you're a teacher, create an I'm a Teacher account. You should also create a teacher account if you are a school or district administrator. There are also student accounts and parent accounts. Once you've created a group, you'll be able to click Log In.
Okay, permit me, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I'm going to share with us a basic structure we used there in my college when we were using Edmodo and Zoom coexistingly. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but then again, this will be made available to us after the session if you're interested. We'll definitely now for Zoom again. Zoom is also a free
In just a
application.
few minutes, learn how to use Zoom to teach an online lesson. As course instructor, all you'll need is a free Zoom account, which you can find at zoom.us. You do need a microphone and a webcam, but these might be built into whatever device you're using. As the course instructor, I definitely recommend a headset microphone for better quality. Once you've registered, go to My Account, and then schedule a meeting. This is where you can customize your meeting or lesson. It should be noted that we're using the free version of Zoom, and this will restrict us to 40 minutes with 3 participants or more. If you're looking for more time, you may have to upgrade, or the other option is just start the lesson multiple times. But you can start by entering the information for your meeting. If you like, you can set a password. You may also want to mute participants upon entry. This is a good feature for a large group. As host, you'll want to share this link with students, either through email or through a location like a learning management system. Students will be able to join our meeting from any phone or mobile device as well. Just make sure they've downloaded the Zoom app. Now as teacher, to begin my lesson, all I have to do is select Start Meeting. The meeting should automatically begin. Choose Join with Computer Audio. By clicking Manage Participants, it will show me everyone who is currently in this meeting. Right now, I just have one student. You'll notice that I have the microphone and the video turned off. This is so I can deliver my lesson. At the bottom of this window, I'll have other options as well. Right now, I'm allowing participants to unmute themselves. This might be something that I want to turn off so I don't get interrupted. I also have this set to mute participants upon entry. That way, when new members join my meeting, I won't hear the noise from their microphone. And if I am in a situation where I need everyone to be muted, there is the Mute All button. This will disable the microphone for everyone in the group. If I want to take questions, I can either manually unmute each student, or I can select Mute All. You might also notice the chat menu on the side. By turning this on,
So again, this is going to be made available to us, but for a lot of us are on Zoom right now. This might not be new to us, but what might be new is how to actually set up an entire learning management system for your school. And I'm going to show us that. So I don't want to take too much time playing these videos. That's why I'm trying to move fast. Then now there is this application that introduced me to. It is also free. You can easily download it on your phone.
This is Jamboard. It's like a whiteboard, except it's way better. Because it lets this team and this team
What's up, guys?
work together. With this guy who lives in France.
Bonjour.
On the same thing at the same time.
C'est fou.
This is how you write and erase. But you can also do this and add some of these. And even turn this into this. And it's got all this other stuff. And so it's really easy to do this. Unless you're no Michelangelo, in which case you can do this. That's because it's part of G Suite, so you can pull in anything from any of these.
Hey guys, I had this room reserved.
And this is how you save your work.
It saves automatically.
Oh, right, it's in the cloud. This is how you pick up where you left off. This is how you share your work.
Got it.
So you never have to do this or write this. So you can do more of this. This is Jamboard, a new way to
Basically, some of these applications I'm sharing with us, for some school admins are here. I'm, I want to organize a free training using one of the applications. So I'm going to launch a poll at the end and then look at which of these apps we're more interested in and see how we can, do some free training on integrating it into your learning, like, setting up an entire learning system around any of these applications. So moving forward, then there is the Google Classroom. A lot of people are familiar with this, a lot are not, and this application is actually free as well for us to use. I'm not going to share much on the details today. Like, these slides will be made available and then you can access all of this. Then WhatsApp as well. Now, the interesting thing, I came across an article recently. I, I I don't know if many of us are familiar and are aware that with WhatsApp you can actually have, four people on a video call at the same time, and also you can share voice notes or have a voice call with at least four people. Now, I came across an article recently that WhatsApp is actually trying to increase the number of participants on a WhatsApp group. I think to about 40, but we're hoping that happens. And if that happens, it makes life easier for everybody. Which means as long as your parents have access to, a WhatsApp, an internet-enabled phone, and they can connect it to on WhatsApp, you can even have video sessions with your students. So, so basically, now the very big question now is, sorry. Okay, so just pardon me. Slide is running faster than I am. Okay, so having shared all of this technology, I know some of us, our students, may not even be able to make use of any of this. Okay, so I know that some of our students may not even have access to this, and I just want to say that it is actually time for us to start thinking. We have no choice but to adapt, to evolve, and to innovate. To start thinking of new ideas and how to, meet the demands of this new reality. A lot of what I've shared today might not be applicable to everybody, but some of us here, some of our students can. Once your students have access to basic just a phone enough, you can use any of this application I've shared today, and I'll be happy to share with us um, some of this like have a training with us just once though on some of these applications. Now I want to share with us, like I said before the lockdown started, we here in my school we made use of Zoom and Edmodo to host our online classes. And then I just want to share with us a document I put together outlining how we pull the structure together. um, just a minute and I'll share this with us. Okay, here we go. Okay, so basically what we made use of during that period was Zoom and Edmodo. Zoom to enable us to have video FaceTime with our students, and the access to download it is in the document. The where they can get support or learn more about the application is there, and then also a bit information about Edmodo itself. So also to share with us, just 1 minute. Yeah, it's coming up. Yes. So we made use of three things, three applications. WhatsApp to communicate with our students because it is, more like real-time conversations, update them on some of the things they needed. Now, for each of the classes we had, we set up a WhatsApp platforms for them, and also there are Edmodo classes set up for them as well. So a student sees this or the parent sees this. One of the things you want to ensure you do is get involved with your parents. But now, which brings me to my next poll actually. How many of us have access to our parents? How many of us have remote access? At least you can call your parents or communicate with them. Just quickly take on this poll quickly. How many of you have remote access to your student parents? Okay. Okay. Now, one challenge I've noticed, especially in some of our school system, especially the local schools, public schools most especially, is usually the parents are alienated from their children's academic activities, and a lot of times it's difficult to get parents involved. But now this is a time more than ever to get parents involved, which means to make any of these things work, you need your parents to engage. You need them to be able to support and participate with you. Okay, so basically we have about 60 to 40%. 40% do not have access to their parents. 60% does. Wow. Wow, interestingly. Okay. So basically, this is just now as a school, you can set up an entirely free learning management system, which is what I've just shown here. Um, on All you have to do is just document whatever plan you have. Now, what I've shown you here basically is you can see that the applications we're using are outlined. The links to download them are there. Students know where to go for their classes. The links, they can just click on the links and enter their WhatsApp group. Click on the link and enter their class groups. And then there is even the online policy. So there's a document to just put together to set up an e-learning system, and then you're good to go. So I think this is one of the most cost-effective way of launching an e-learning system for an entire school. For some of our low-cost private schools that we have access to students, and then our students have access to at least a mobile phone. All of these applications I've shared, students can have an entire learning day with any of these applications on their phone, basically. So that's just it basically. So now I'm just going to, I know a lot of us have questions, so I think I'm just going to allow the moderator to bring up the questions so that we talk more about some of these challenges, especially those ones that did not have access to this technology. Over to you, Ms. Kemi. Ms. Kemi, are you there? Okay, before she comes, I hope she's still around. I'm just going to. There was a question that came directly earlier, and the question was, let me see. Good evening. For large-scale teacher trainings, what are the ways this could be done with minimal cost to the teachers in low-tech areas? Now, at least, I know that depending on the context you find yourself, but most teachers would have access to a phone. But I still won't count 100% of this because I've also worked in a school where some teachers only use phones that are not internet enabled. But as long as your teachers have access to a phone, you can have a training session on Zoom. Now, assuming this was a training session, one of the things Zoom allows you to do is to have breakout sessions, which is one of the things you do when you're having a normal training or a normal class. That means you put people into groups and have them discuss and come back and share what they've learned, and then you have a facilitator talking to them. You can use the Zoom application to train teachers. In fact, we have a number of teacher training outlined in the coming days. Not on the Teach Innovation platform though, but I also happen to be one of those, planning the event. So we'll definitely share with the contact list there, looking at some training content for teachers during this coronavirus pandemic, looking at skills that you need, looking at soft skills and how to deliver online, doing assessment online and the rest like that. So I hope that answers that question. So Ms. Kemi, are you still around? Okay. Okay, she's around, but she's muted. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay. Yes. Ms. Kemi, you can unmute yourself now.
Okay. Thank you very much. I was unmuted. That's why I couldn't talk to him.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your session. I mean, I learned a lot already. Jamboard, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. So I'm sure I'm going to check it out once we're done with this. Let's quickly move straight to the questions. There's a question for Mr. Michael. He mentioned that he's working on a project, he's working with some teachers and all that. So someone is asking, how can my school and teachers benefit from your plans? That's from Mr. Michael.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. For the plan, actually, what we have done, though my work is specifically targeted at low-income schools, but what we have done is that we have created a platform. I didn't want to share too much on that because myself and the lead developer at Massey, we just completed the platform yesterday. So on the platform, what we are looking at is that we are going to have teachers on that platform, and because I'm a STEM educator, that is where my strength is. So we are looking at pulling resources because when we teach, I said something earlier that we need to change the way we teach. Okay, teaching has gone beyond just knowing the definition of things and just having the textbook knowledge. We need to start bringing it into reality, and that is what I've always advocated for. So we have to also consider our own context. So on the platform, we are going to have the application will soon be out for teachers. So we are going to have a pool of teachers on the platform. We have also integrated Zoom into the platform, so you don't need to install Zoom on your phone before we can have trainings on that platform. And we are also going to be having resources specifically targeted within that is going to benefit those teachers in our own context. So because our things are practical, we do practical. So it's going to be specifically targeted at what we can achieve within our locality. So when the application is out, we can get your teachers can sign up and come get on board, and they can benefit from what we are doing.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Okay, so that was Mrs. Olubisi's question. I'm sure you heard Mr. Michael's response. Once they're done setting it up, teachers will be able to sign in. Okay, there's another question. So I think I'll throw this as Damlala. It says, is using technology for the learners just about how to use the computer or how to use it to learn? So I think it works both ways, but let's hear your response.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the last session we had last week, one of the speakers made us understand that, teaching online is not just about, the use of the technology. It is what you make, it is the delivery, it is the content you have. And the means is not what is most important. It is it is the value you're passing across. One thing I wanted to note during my session that I forgot to mention was it is very important to, this is a time for us to start thinking, to start going back to the basics, just like Michael mentioned earlier. This is not the time for you to start going. Now, the Nigerian curriculum is cumbersome. You have, students taking about 18 subjects. In some primary schools, they're taking about 11 to 12 subjects. Now, this is a time to just focus on numeracy and literacy. And trust me, once a child is good, has fundamental understanding of basic of numeracy and literacy, the child can function in any subject matter. It's just a question of studying and getting accustomed to each of those subject matter. Now, based on that particular question, yes, one thing that personally, let me just share a personal experience in just 1 minute. I was never big on technology. I never went to school to read computer science or anything. It was just some kind of interest I developed. Now, over the past couple of months, I know how much I've grown just trying to okay, we need to find solutions. Now we cannot teach in the classrooms anymore. We need to go online, and I've basically interfaced with a number of learning management systems. Some of them are subscription based, like Microsoft Teams, like the Dynamics platform. Some of them are free, just like the ones I've shared with you. I've had to work around this, and so now what this enables your students to do is, one, they learn to be more versatile with technology. That's that's a given. It comes with the territory. But then the content you teach also matters. So it's basically content, that's the value you give to your student, and also they being accustomed to technology. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Damlala. There's another question that says, how can children between ages 3 to 6 be taught effectively with the use of technology?
Okay.
Mr. Michael, do you want to go? Damlala?
Okay. Okay, let me quickly say something about that. Okay, one of the things I think we should note, and I think Dami has also mentioned it, at this point in time, more than ever, it is very important to make sure that parents are involved in the learning of their children. You know, education is not complete until the primary stakeholders, all the three primary stakeholders are involved. That is the teacher, the parent, and the child. Okay, so if you want to, for example, if you want to deal with children from age 3 to 6, the first thing you have to know is that they have attention span. So you have to consider the attention span in your planning. Also, because children at that age are also hyper. So you have to make sure that your lesson is engaging and it is an activity-based learning. So get them to do something and don't spend too much time making them stare at the screen, or just being the one talking, they will get bored. Also, their parents have to be involved. So the three things you have to consider is attention span, make your teaching activity based, and also get the parents involved.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Michael.
So if I may just add quickly,
okay.
Sorry, let me just add quickly to that. One thing that we need to understand, we all need to understand, is that what this pandemic has done is to change and to transform the way we look at education, the way we teach. Now, teaching online, I can bet it with you that it's totally different from how you engage students. Because now you have students who can act, especially if you are teaching even students who are maybe teenagers or even the older ones. I've seen all kinds of funny things happen, during this e-learning, period, where students will do a recording of themselves and put it on the screen, and then the teacher sees them, but they're nowhere near the computer, or you see some of them, hiding or doing all kinds of things behind the computer while the teacher is teaching. But the most important thing to note is that, just like Mr. Michael said, it is important to engage parents. That is one. Then secondly, your mode of delivery has to be totally different, which means you need to, if you are not an actor as a teacher before, you need to start learning how to act and engage your students in such a way that they're interested and they don't want to keep their eyes off you. And then you need to be able to create engaging content, which means the skill that teachers need to develop. I remember one of the now I've seen play in advanced countries, even kindergartners, they have Zoom classes. But then for that to work, obviously, that the parents has to be involved, which is one of the problems we have in our education system. You have parents who are totally, not interested in their students learning. So students, no matter the age, even on Zoom, children can learn, even the ages 3 and 6. But just like Michael mentioned, it is in the content that you pass across. It has to be age appropriate as well. So I think it's a question of understanding the structure, understanding the context, and then knowing that things have changed and we need to adapt with time. Thank you.
Thank you, Damlala. Thank you, Mr. Michael, for your response. And I think I totally agree with everything you said. It's just about content, engaging content. Most of the students now, students perceive information visually, so teachers must be ready to equip themselves with skills that can help them in creating various kinds of content, audio, pictures, animations, just employing different tools to engage and sustain the learner's attention. Okay, so I don't think there's any more question. There was a comment from Mercy Ayola, which says that some parents have smartphones but can't do more than calling and receiving calls. Yes, we know that's one of the challenge. High literacy rate of some parents is it poses a real challenge for the success of virtual learning. All we can do as teachers or as a school is to keep sensitizing them to the need for them to embrace technology at this time. Damlala, any final words or?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. If I think Mrs. Olubisu Akintayo made a comment here. She said that please know that some parents appear illiterate or semi-illiterate. That's why they looked out for fairly low charging schools. Online teaching shouldn't scare them away. We must work around them. Now, one of the things I was hoping to talk about today was to open our minds and that to other ideas beyond just using the computer to facilitate learning. And what we are hoping to do next week is to bring on a number of teachers. Well, who will share with you, their personal experience in the past couple of months, and have they've been able to engage their students. Some of them are not even using any tech tools. So we want them to come on here to share their stories. So you have a number of teachers. So next week we are bringing mainly teachers who have done amazingly well in this period using the most basic of resources, and then to facilitate learning even to students who do not have access to any of these technology tools. So yes, e-learning should not scare parents away. We should not only look at e-learning. In fact, I was saying yesterday that in the olden days, I don't know, some of us might be familiar with the town crier, system of communication, whereas the town crier goes around the town to pass information. Yes, it is true that you cannot have physical contact with your students, but nothing says I've seen all kinds of things, people using megaphone to teach from a safe distance, people passing across some written down papers, written out assignments or activities for students, all manners of things. So I think it is for us to think first of value. What value are we giving to the students? And then we need to start thinking outside of the box. This is not just a statement. It has to happen. Thank you very much. And then once you start, parents will be interested. How can we link up with the presenters? I'm going to put up the our contact details now, so you can note it down and reach out to us after this session. So over to you, Kemi.
All right, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining in. It's been quite a very enlightening session. Thank you, Mr. Michael. Thank you, Damlala, for convening this session. I mean, back to back, the first, second, and this, it's been totally awesome. Okay, there's a comment from Madeleke Oluwatosin, and she says, very insightful. Many thanks to the facilitators. Mr. Damlala, kindly share the videos with us. I'm sure he has plans for that. Right, Damlala?
Yes, I do. And if you didn't register for this session before now, I hope you can see the screen. You can just send a mail or just put your email in the chat box if you have not registered before. Just put your mail in the chat box and I'll notice and forward the documents to you.
Okay. Mr. Michael, you have 60 seconds for a final statement.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us. If you would like to know what we do at Mercy, you can go to our website at www.mercyafrica.org, and that is where we'll be putting our applications for teachers that want to join our platform. Thank you, everybody. It's been an exciting time, a learning time. I hope we go back and make use of whatever we have learned. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Damlala. Please, what you shared isn't very clear. I don't know if it's just me.
Yeah, I think it's the my computer is freezing. It's been working all day. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me just post it in the chat box for people who are see here. But I think basically, so thank you everyone for joining us. We truly appreciate you for being a part of this session. We have at least the last session for this series coming up next week. Based on feedback, then we'll consider what we need and what our participants need and what subject matter they want us to focus on going forward. So thank you so much. We truly appreciate you.
you